when you're going through things, it is only natural that you ask all the questions, right? That your mind is just racing through all the different questions and all the different emotions, and every feeling comes to the surface, and you're just trying to make sense of something that maybe really just makes no sense, right? I was praying the other day, and there are so many things in my life that I have definitely felt are unfair. I mean, and it's not just one thing. It's several different areas of my life that I'm like, Lord, I wouldn't wish this on anybody. Why me? This is not fair. This is not right. There's several areas like that for me. And these past few months, everything has just felt so compounded, because now there are new things that just don't seem fair, stacked on top of the things that already did not seem fair. And last week I just found myself pleading to the Lord, like, Lord, how much longer, God? Lord, please have mercy on me, God. Lord, please make a way, God. Lord, your word says, God, that you make a way in the desert and that you bring forth streams in the wastelands. So Lord, please make a way. And I was crying and I was bawling my eyes out. There has not been one area of my life that has not been touched and tried in these last few months. Like I said, on top of already the things that I've just been holding onto the Lord so tightly for years now. And so the crushing has just been so painful at times. And yet I still cry out to the Lord because He's all I have. And so I'm pleading with the Lord, and then my prayer transitioned into, okay, Lord, it's about time to make a new video. What would you like for me to share with your people? What would you like me to speak about? Tell me, show me. Because I never want to come on here and speak on things that He has not guided me in speaking. So again, I'm trusting in the Lord with this channel. If you watched my other videos, like, I've already expressed that I had zero YouTube ambitions. This was not anything that I ever wanted to do, and I do consider myself quite private, and this was never on my radar. And so I'm really just trusting the Lord with this. And so everything that I do on here, it's all led by Him. And so what would you like me to speak on? And I asked Him to just show me, give me a sign, let me know. And I afterwards, I had to go to the bathroom, clean myself up because the face was just looking tore up. And I walked into the bathroom, I flipped the switch on for the light, and as soon as I did that, all of a sudden, out of my mouth, I just blurted out, "Though He slay me, yet will I hope in Him." And I looked in the mirror and I said, "Oh, okay, Lord. Guess you want me to talk about Job." Okay. And so let's do that. Let's unpack what it means when we say that something's not fair, that it's unfair. When life seems unfair, what do we do? How do we handle that? What does the Bible say about fairness? Let's go to Job. See, the thing about Job is that in the very beginning, the writer tells us that this man was blameless and upright. He feared God and shunned evil. This was a really good guy. And to see his life take such a turn, it's striking. It's striking, right? He ends up losing everything. This is a man who is wealthy. He has a lovely family. He has been blessed with, I think it's 3 daughters and 7 sons. His business is thriving. He has lots of cattle. I mean, he has an idyllic life. And on top of that, he's a good guy. And we see that he loses everything. There's a freak accident and he loses his sons and his daughters, and then something else happens and then he loses all of his, servants and workers, and then something else happens and he loses all of his cattle, and before you know it, his life is crumbling right before his eyes. And then the icing on the cake, his health is getting struck and he has painful sores all over his body. And his friends come to mourn with him. And for 7 days, they sit with him and they grieve and they cry. And they just sit with him in silence. And on the 7th day, Job breaks his silence and he begins to express all the emotions that we all express when something happens, when things happen and it makes no sense and we don't understand and it seems so unfair. We go through all the emotions. At first, the very first thing that comes from his mouth is that he curses the day that he was born. May the day of my birth perish, and the night it was said, a boy is born. That day, may it turn to darkness. May God above not care about it. May no light shine upon it. May darkness and deep shadow claim it once more. May a cloud settle over it. May blackness overwhelm its light. He's consumed with anguish. And his friends begin to speak now. And they say, surely you must have done something wrong. You must have sinned because, God would not do this to somebody who was righteous. So you brought this upon yourself. Of course you did. Job continues on. Now he's asking God, Lord, just take me now. Just take me now. I'm so done. I can't do this anymore. I just don't understand. And he says, oh, that I might have my request, that God would grant what I hope for, that God would be willing to crush me, to let loose his hand and cut me off. Then I would still have this consolation, my joy in unrelenting pain, that I had not denied the words of the Holy One. Make it quick. Make it quick, because I don't want to get to the point where, Lord, I speak against you. Make it quick, because at least I know if I go now, I'll go knowing that I didn't say anything to curse your name, Lord. Make it quick. And so this goes on. And he doesn't ever curse the Lord, but he goes through all of the emotions, and his friends continue to point the finger and say, surely you must have done something. Surely your kids must have done something to bring this on to you. And so we began to see his friends turn from being these comforters to they're pointing their finger at him. And now he must feel so alone. And we even see that he talks about, I marked this one off. This was beautiful. Remember, oh God, that my life is but a breath. My eyes will never see happiness again. The eye that now sees me will see me no longer. You will look for me, but I will be no more. Self-loathing and anguish. And this continues on as his friends, point the finger and stuff. And then eventually there's a turn, right? And we start to say, you know what? I've done everything right. I did not deserve this. I did everything right. And so he begins to proclaim that he is so undeserving of this, that he is, a great guy. And how often do we go to that place of self-righteousness? And so what does he say? He begins to talk about how, the people who once admired him, the people who once looked up to him, they now look at him with scornful eyes. And he talks about how he did so much good. And I did this, Lord, and I did that, Lord. And Lord, how could you do this, Lord? To me, your servant, I can't believe this is happening to me, your servant. So he's going through all the emotions that we all go through. But yet, he doesn't curse God. He now wants to plead his case in front of God. He says, though he slay me yet, I will hope in him. I will surely defend my ways to his face. Lord, if I just have one chance, just to show you that I don't deserve this, just to show you, Lord, that this is so unfair, just to tell you, Lord, how I did this and how I did that and how I always prayed and how I read my Bible and how, Lord, I'm a good person. I'm a good person. If only I could just see you and I could just plead my case to you, Lord. So now this is where this takes a turn. And his friends continue. Womp, 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 womp. Job says this, which I thought was really good. But he knows the way that I take. When he has tested me, I will come forth as gold. In that statement, he still has faith that he will get through this, even though it is unfair, or he sees it as utterly unfair what he's going through. There's still this knowing inside of him that he will get it on the other side, get through it, and get to the other side. I will still come forth as gold. And there is that thread throughout this whole entire thing, that he doesn't curse God and he still trusts in him and he hopes in him. And so when we look at what God says to him, God says, a little noise in the background, so I got a little distracted. The Lord speaks. He answers Job. He says, who is this that darkens my counsel with words without knowledge? Brace yourself like a man. I will question you, and you shall answer me. Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Tell me if you understand. Who marked off its dimensions? Surely you know. Who stretched a measuring line across it? On what were its footings set, or who laid its cornerstone, while the morning stars sang together and all the angels shouted for joy? Who shut up the sea behind doors when it burst forth from the womb, when I made the clouds its garment and wrapped it in thick darkness, when I fixed limits for it and set its doors and bars in place. When I said, this far you may come and no farther, farther, here is where your proud waves halt. Have you ever given orders to the morning or shown the dawn its place, that it might take the earth by the edges and shake the wicked out of it? The earth takes shape like clay under a seal. Its features stand out like those of a garment. And God goes on. He does not address Job's. Slightly annoying, my camera just flopped, or my phone just flopped while I was speaking, but let me just hurry up and get through the rest of this. So the Lord goes on. He doesn't necessarily address Job's issues, but he reinforces the fact that he is God and God alone, and that if he is in control of every single aspect of his whole entire world and the whole entire universe, if he determines the numbers of stars in the skies and he gives the oceans their limits, and he is the one that controls the winds and the waves and the suns and the moons, and the moon, then surely his ways are higher than our ways, and it's not our business to understand what exactly it is that he's doing when he takes us through the things that he takes us through. He's God, and he doesn't have to explain himself. Job responds to the Lord, and he says, I know that you can do all things. No plan of yours can be thwarted. You asked, who is this that obscures my counsel without knowledge? Surely I spoke of things I did not understand, things too wonderful for me to know. You said, listen now, and I will speak. I will question you, and you shall answer me. My ears had heard of you, but now my eyes have seen you. So Job comes away so humbled, so humbled. The thing about the story of Job is that in the very beginning of the story, we see that Satan himself had to get permission from the Lord to even touch Job's life. And when the Lord spoke with Satan, he is the one who actually suggested Job, because Satan was looking for somebody, because he's always roaming and roaring like a lion, seeking whom he can devour. And so the Lord was like, well, what about my servant Job? I'm gonna try to get through this video. My phone flopped over again. The gimbal that it's on, for some reason the Wi-Fi kept disconnecting, and so it was just flopping over. So anyways, let me just try to get through this. The enemy can only touch your life as much as the Lord allows him to. And of course the enemy was saying, of course Job is a good servant. Of course he loves you because you have given him a good life. But I bet you if all those things were not in place, if his life was not the life that he has right now, he would not serve you. What does he say verbatim? Does Job fear God for nothing? Satan replied, have you not put a hedge around him and his household and everything he has? You have blessed the work of his hands so that his flocks and herds are spread throughout the land. But stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face. And the Lord said, go ahead. Do what you're going to do. The only thing is you can't take his life. So there were parameters. And there are things that happen in our lives that are so much greater than we could ever imagine. Things happening in the spirit that we cannot begin to imagine. And that's why, hallelujah, the word says that we have to have our armor on at all times, the helmet of salvation, knowing that Jesus is our hope. He is the one that came and he was on that cross and everything died with him on that cross. And so surely the Lord, hallelujah, will do what he says he would do in my life because his son died for my salvation. Yes, you put on your helmet of salvation that guards your mind, your thoughts, and you know that you have a hope in Jesus. You put on your belt of truth that comes from the word of God. You put on your shield of faith to deflect the enemy's darts. And you hold on to the Lord and you have on your full armor. You use the word, you go into the word and you look at God's promises that he will never leave you nor forsake you, that he will make a way through the desert for you. You put on the shoes of peace. You put on your breastplate of righteousness, which is exactly what Job wore. He wore his breastplate of righteousness, but we have to understand that we cannot question God. We cannot question his ways because they are higher than our ways. But as long as you hold on like Job did, knowing, what did he say? I will come forth as gold. He persevered. How did he respond to his trials and tribulations? He had on his armor and he fought. He fought. He knew that the Lord was in control of his life. He knew that God was God and that somehow, some way, he would make a way because God ultimately is always in control of everything that we have going on in our lives. And so as I sit here and I plead and I pray and I say, God, I need you. I am trusting that he will make a way, that he will do everything that he says he would do in this word. Put on the full armor and know that God is able. Know that he is moving, but as he is pruning you and taking you through this process of whatever it is that he's taking you through, you trust in him. You hope in him. At the end, Job did come forth as gold because he got through the end. He got to the end of his trial and everything was restored twofold. He had more children. All the cattle and everything that he had before, he got back double. His life was restored. He did come forth as gold. What did he say during his battle? He said, though he slay me, yet will I hope in him. So you must hope in him, trust in him, persevere in him. Admittedly, I tried to film this last week and it was a nightmare. And when I watched the footage, I said, maybe I can still piece this together somehow. And the sound didn't work. So it gave me some more time to kind of really reflect on this word that God wanted me to share. And as I was looking this over, I did not grow up in church. I didn't grow up in like a Christian household, There was a knowledge of God and there was something about Jesus, but there's still a lot that I'm learning, And I was just sitting here kind of going through Job and reflecting, and all of a sudden the Lord just led me to James. And I had something highlighted here about faith. And I was like, Lord, why did you have me open to this? And rude. And I looked right above it. And I said, oh my goodness. So this is what the Lord led me to. This is James 5, verse 11. As you know, we consider blessed those who have persevered. You have heard of Job's perseverance and have seen what the Lord finally brought about. The Lord is full of compassion and mercy. He's not trying to hurt us. He's not trying to just steal from us, because only the enemy steals and he destroys. But the Lord refines us. And when things seem unfair, just know that our God is fair. We cannot truly understand all that He has planned for us. And sometimes the things that He wants to give us and show us and lead us to is so much greater than anything we could have ever imagined. But are you ready for it? It's not about do you deserve it, because the sun shines on good and evil, and it rains on the righteous and the unrighteous. So it's not a matter of deservedness on fairness. It's a matter of perseverance, a matter of faith, and trust in the Lord. Because His plans for you can't even begin to imagine. And maybe if you don't go through these things, you won't be prepared for what He wants to really do in your life. Thank you for watching, and I pray that this ministered to you, and know that you're not alone. We're all going through trials, and when it seems unfair, put on the full armor and pray.